Cognitive biases are like hidden tricks in our brains that affect how we think and decide stuff. Sometimes we don't even notice them happening. It's super important to know about them because they can really change how we live, from what we choose to do to how we understand things. Types of cognitive biases. Confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is a common thing where we tend to find things that support what we already believe. It's like wearing glasses that only let in the things we want to see. When we're checking out a topic, we might only pay attention to the articles or websites that agree with our opinions, making us feel even more sure about what we thought before. It's tricky because it can make us miss out on other important ideas that might actually be true. Availability heuristic. The availability heuristic is when we think something is more likely to happen just because it's easier to remember. So if something stands out in our minds or happened recently, we tend to think it's more common, even if it's not. This can make us think some things are more risky than they really are, or we might make choices based on stories that made us feel strong emotions, even if those stories don't happen a lot in reality. Anchoring bias. Anchoring bias happens when we cling too much to the first info we get, called the anchor, when we're deciding stuff. Even if we hear other things later that go against the first info, it still affects how we think. This bias gets used in different situations, like when stores set high prices at first, so when they lower them later, it seems like a better deal. It's kind of like getting stuck on the first idea we hear. Framing effect. The framing effect shows that how info is shown can really change how we see things and decide. If something is talked about in a good way or a bad way, we might react in different ways, even if the info itself doesn't change. People like advertisers and politicians often use this to make people think a certain way or act a certain way. It's like putting something in a nice frame to make it look better. Recognizing cognitive biases in everyday life. Cognitive biases are all over our everyday life, affecting how we see things happen, talk to people, and decide stuff. Like when we read news or pick someone for a job, or even think about what's risky, biases sneak into our decisions. Knowing about these biases is the first thing we can do to make sure they don't mess up our choices too much. Strategies to overcome cognitive biases. Slow thinking. If we take our time and think carefully when making decisions, we can lessen how much cognitive biases affect us. Taking it slow means we stop, think, and look at things from different angles before we decide. Doing this can help us make smarter and better decisions based on good thinking. Seeking diverse perspectives. When we listen to different ideas and learn from different experiences, it makes us question what we already think and learn new stuff. By looking for viewpoints that are different from ours, we can stop echo chambers and confirmation bias from messing with our thinking. Hearing lots of different opinions helps us think more carefully and understand others better, which is super important. Embracing uncertainty. Understanding that the world is uncertain and complicated can free us from the limits of cognitive biases. Instead of holding on to fixed ideas or looking for clear-cut answers, we're okay with not knowing everything and stay open to learning new stuff. Being okay with uncertainty helps us stay humble and keeps us interested in learning and getting better all the time.